Hi everyone, my name is Megan. On March 5th, we asked everyone to submit some questions for a Q&A video. Over the last couple of weeks, we've received so many great responses from all of you, and we've compiled all of your questions together to create this video. And I'm joined today by our General Manager, Mark.
Hello.
So we are going to answer all your questions today. Shall we get started?
Let's go ahead.
All right. First things first, somebody asked, what is your favorite historical time period of weapons?
I am partial to the Roman and Greek eras. I really like the different styles. Gladius just happens to be my favorite sword. So that just really resonates with me as far as the type of weaponry, the warfare, the tactics, and all that. It's really interesting. But I love lots of different historical eras. So yeah. What else we got?
Next thing is to follow up with that. They want to know, would you go back to that time if you were able?
I think it'd be pretty cool to go and view that or visit, but I definitely enjoy living in this time period and getting to make swords today. We have much better quality steel. We have electricity, really nice. Air conditioning, working in a sword shop without air conditioning, tough.
Yeah, a little hot, a little sweaty. So following up on that, since you brought up a sword shop, how do you make your blades? And is it the same as how they did it hundreds of years ago?
Good question. We get this a lot at the festivals as well. We do a combination of historical and modern techniques. So there's thousands of years of blacksmithing that has been developed through many different cultures, and that is the groundwork. But then the last couple hundred years, there's a lot of metallurgy leaps in knowledge that have happened. So we have significantly better quality steel today than they did. We have better tools, something as simple as the thermometer, my favorite tool in the entire shop, because we're able to heat the steel to a specific temperature, not just, well, it's yellow or it's orange or whatever. And we have hardness testers and all this stuff. So we use a combination of the different things. Sometimes it's almost exactly like how they did it back then, and then other times it's completely different. But the goal is to give our customers the best quality sword that we can build.
Sounds nice. Following up with that, do you have any interest in making any exact historical replicas?
That's another one I hear a lot at the Renaissance festivals. We do these fairs all over the country. I've met a lot of you over the years. We have gone the route at SABERSMITH of taking historical ideas and using that as inspiration to design our own work.
Okay.
In our minds, that's actually closer to what most historic sword makers would have done. There weren't, in most cases, they didn't have a textbook that said, you must make your sword this exact length and this exact balance. They were taught by a master how to do it, and as soon as they had their own shop, they probably started changing things and changing designs and stuff. Or you had a customer come in and they wanted it a certain way and you built it the way they wanted it. So we take and, let's use one of these swords we brought out as an example. This is our Viking longsword, specifically one with runes engraved in it. And there were quite a bit of variation of historic Viking swords. They've found quite a few in archaeological digs. And many of them have very big similarities, but there's different sizes, there's different widths, different lengths, different weights. So instead of trying to replicate one exact one from a specific time period, we take the general style and then we design our own, usually staying within the realm of what that similar historic sword would have been.
Okay.
Tends to be more our style.
Yeah. Makes it much better then.
Yeah. There are companies out there that all they do is make exact historical replicas. Please feel free, check some of them out. There's some really good American-made ones out there. Yeah. But if you just want a good quality sword that we try to make as high quality and also as cool, because they are a collector's item these days mostly. Yeah. Not a ton of our customers are getting into duels to the death, but
I'd be a little terrified if they were. But do you plan to add any new Ren fairs to your circuit?
We are actually attending a new Ren fair just this year. We'll be starting at the Scarborough Renaissance Festival just south of Dallas, Texas in Waxahachie in just a couple weeks in April. Pretty excited. We'll look forward to seeing a bunch of people. We went there once as a guest artist.
Okay.
So we'll get to see all of you again, all of our collectors there.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Following up with all that, they are also wondering, do you take custom orders?
Occasionally. Our business has kind of developed over the years. So there are times that we have done a lot more custom work. There's times where we have done none. Now we're kind of in the middle. We only do a few custom pieces a year. So we kind of reserve that for our collectors. We have people that have been buying from us for years. They already have a dozen swords. And they're just like, oh, I just really wish you guys made this one thing that isn't part of your collection yet. I'm more inclined to do that. But in general, we have the wonderful problem that we can barely keep up with the demand for our products, and we're working 40 plus hours a week with the entire crew trying to keep up with the demand for our product line. So the 90+% of the time, sadly, when people reach out about custom stuff, the answer is going to be politely no. But a few a year we'll take on if it's something that looks interesting, or if it's a collector that we've known for years, and we might build something. Otherwise, throughout the year, you'll see a few one-of-a-kind pieces that we'll just make. That is something we really love to do. Just make a one-of-a-kind piece that doesn't have to be to any set design. And so throughout the year at the Renaissance Festival, you'll get to see some cool one-off pieces.
That's pretty awesome. Following up with that is, do you make halberds, and when will they be available on the website?
Halberds are a new design just this past year. We prototyped one. We did a custom one back last summer. We took out to the Colorado Renaissance Festival, and it sold pretty quickly, but we had a lot of people very interested in it. So we ended up going to the prototype phase, and we did a few modifications over the course of last year, and now we've standardized it to some degree, and they are available on the built to order side of our website, and you'll start to see them out at the Renaissance festivals. I have at least one out, the Arizona one right now. But you'll see them throughout the year.
Awesome. I want to follow that up with, can we mix and match guards and pommels from different swords when we place them in build to order?
So our website is set up where you can either order ready to ship, meaning it's finished, it's in stock, you place the order today, within the next couple of business days, we'll ship it out to you. Can't make any changes to that because that sword already exists. That'd be like this exact sword, and you're buying it, you see a photo of it, you buy it, we ship it. Or if you're a little more patient, you're a little more particular, and you want to pick and choose the details, you can choose the color of the blade. We have a few different finish options. You can choose which guard, which pommel, which wrap. You can choose all those things, and then we're going to build it and ship it to you. This takes that kind of a step further. Every once in a while, we get somebody who says, oh, I really love your gladius, but I just have this idea in my head that I really want a hand and a half, like a long sword style guard on a gladius. That is not something that you're going to be able to place the order on our website because it's not a standard option, but you're welcome to reach out, and that kind of slight customization, we're usually able to accommodate a little bit easier than a full custom sword design. I believe right now we're building someone a custom greatsword that just has like a Viking style pommel, and I just have to make one that's like 25% larger than a normal one. And I was able to accommodate that for a small fee. It might delay how long it takes to get your weapon because we're going to have to do some custom work to it. It's not a stock item. But yeah, so sometimes we can make that happen. In general, though, we usually design these swords like the way they are for a reason. So there might be a reason why A, they didn't exist historically like that, or B, maybe we already tried that and it really came out looking silly. Sometimes that happens. It's like, well, there's a reason we don't offer that pommel with that sword. It looks really gaudy or whatever. So, but yeah, sometimes is the answer.
So the next question is kind of similar to the last one, but they are wondering, do you ever make blades out of Damascus steel?
So occasionally is the answer to that. We are lucky in that we're building swords here now in the 21st century where we have access to good quality steel. So our regular swords are all 1075 high carbon steel. And what that means for those of you at home, or if you're not super familiar with swords, there's 3 or 4 main alloys that people use to make swords in today's age because they have certain properties. 1075 is one of them. It's a type of spring steel. when you shape the sword correctly, when you heat treat the sword correctly, it can hold a good edge while still being flexible, which is really the most important thing for a functional battle-ready sword, sharp sword. 5160 is another alloy that's really common to use for swords. Damascus steel is kind of a whole different thing. And historically, every culture was trying to figure out, how do I take iron ore and turn it into steel that is better than the steel my enemies have, so that our swords hold up better than that guy's swords. Today, though, most people doing what we refer to as Damascus steel, it's more of an art form than it is for function.
Okay.
It is a layering process that a lot of times you're combining different types of steel, a higher carbon or lower carbon, or something that has a higher nickel content or whatever. And in most cases, you are not doing that because you are trying to make something that is stronger. You're doing it to make it beautiful. And they can be very beautiful. So we reserve working with Damascus steel for our high-end custom pieces. So right now, they're actually working on a Damascus steel Greek Xiphos that is going to be, it's going to be gorgeous. And I'm hoping it'll be done in time that I can take it down to Dallas with me in a couple weeks and showcase it at that fair. So yes, occasionally. However, it isn't something that we really will take orders for. It's more just throughout the year when we want to work with do a cool one-off piece. We just sold a Damascus Viking sword out at the Arizona Fair a few weeks ago. So you'll see them throughout the year occasionally.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They really want to know a lot of different customization options and stuff. So this question is, do you guys do engravings?
Excellent question. We'll swap back to this other sword for this question. So we do some engraving in-house, like the Viking rune sword here, or we also have a Centurion sword for those of you who have seen those at the fair. I'll try to get this a little close enough that you can see that. So we do this with a CNC mill, and it is actually grinding it directly into the steel. We do this before the sword has been heat treated. It's a little bit deeper. It's more of a permanent engraving.
Right.
And we currently do not offer this as a customization option. We have a couple standardized blades that we do this to. This one says our name, SABERSMITH, down the blade in Norse runes. We also have the Roman Centurion sword that says, "Hail Caesar, we who are about to die salute you," in Latin. That was really cool. And that is kind of the extent of the engraving we do in-house. Recently, we've started working with a local man here in Michigan who does laser engraving to start playing around with how can we offer custom engraving for customers. And we've done a couple projects with him now. And over the course of this year, we're going to try to standardize that and be able to start offering it, so that when a really common one is, like, say somebody's getting married and they want to exchange blades, or they want to give swords or daggers to their groomsmen or bridesmaids or whatever might be the case. A lot of times they want to have, the date of their wedding or the name of the people getting married. So we're working with him to kind of figure out how we can start offering those services. I would expect you'll start to be able to see those options available by the end of 2025. But in the meantime, if you are looking for something simple like that, you can reach out to us. Any inquiries on these kind of things, any kind of customization inquiries, we do recommend sending us an email to info@sabersmith.com, or go to our website, sabersmith.com, and use the contact form. Social media is great. However, sometimes there are lots of comments, and if you have a question, that's why we're trying to do this video, but individual questions can get lost in the mix. So sending us an email or going to our website form is the best way to get an answer to most of those kinds of questions.
Talked about the customizations. Now everybody's wondering, will we ever bring back weapon designs that you've discontinued?
Short answer, yes. We, throughout the years, have built so many different types of blades, and some of them we discontinued just so that we could keep our product line small enough and we could add new things. We kind of cycle through different designs. Other times, we only ever intended to make them as a limited edition run. But we have been discussing different ways to have We've been joking about different names like the Resurrection line or the Back from the Dead or whatever, but or Heritage or something. But we are discussing having a separate section maybe on the website that is under built to order, where you can place an order for one of these previously discontinued pieces. And they aren't going to necessarily be significantly more expensive because they aren't custom, but it might just take a little longer to get them because it's not something that we have the parts in stock to make. So an example of that is the Ninja Sword. We used to build these as a stock item, and we discontinued them a few years back because they just kind of fell out of fashion. They weren't selling great, and it wasn't worth building them. But we decided to cycle them back into the product line. So this year, you guys will see these at the Ren Fair. And what'll happen is at the end of the year, we'll look at the sales. If they're selling well, we'll keep making them. If they're not, they'll probably end up in that discontinued line where if somebody really wants one, we'll build them one, but otherwise we're not going to have them.
So we've already talked about quite a few other things, but now they're wondering, if I order a sword, how long will it take to get to me?
That's a pretty straightforward one. We have on our website our ready to ship items where you can buy one that's in stock and we will ship it out within usually 1 to 3 business days. And if you're in the continental US, you'll probably have it within a week. If you do a built to order, either at the festival or on our website, currently the lead time for that is about 30 to 90 days. In the middle of summertime, we have lots of fairs going on. Sometimes that moves to like 3 to 6 months, but not usually 1 to 3 months is pretty normal. So
fair enough.
Pretty quick for something that's getting built to your specifications.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now everyone wants to know, and everyone, but did they get any discounts?
We have a couple times throughout the year that we'll do some kind of promotion or sale. I know our media team is cooking up some different plans for throughout the year. We're going to add in some more swag. We've got t-shirts, we've got hoodies. We're going to work on some other options. We do one big sale around the holiday time, starting on Black Friday. If you are looking for a deal on a SABERSMITH sword, that's probably your one chance. We do offer a 10% military discount, military, police, first responders, etc. We do that throughout the year. If you're at one of the festivals, you can just show your ID and they'll apply it to your sale, or just reach out to us for the website. We'll give you a code.
All right. So we've answered the discount and everything. Next question is, do you typically sell your blade sharp?
Yep. The default for pretty much every sword we make is going to be sharp. There's kind of a wide variety of what that word means to different people. Ours is what we think of as kind of right down the middle. They are a good working edge for a blade. They're thick enough for a sword that'll hold up decent, but they're sharp enough to cut. There are people that want a razor sharp sword, and that is one way to make one. However, usually that means that the blade has been ground down to a relatively thin edge, and they do not hold up well if they take blade on blade impact. So that can be great if all you're doing is slicing like tatami mats or fruit or whatever. But if you actually want your sword to hold up to any kind of, like say if you're smashing it against shields or something, those really thin razor edges don't hold up well. So we kind of go down the middle and do like a good sharp edge, but thick enough that it'll hopefully hold up well to contact. The only exception to that would be, well, obviously Warhammers and such don't have an edge on them, but we do make bodice daggers. These make really good gifts, and they, historically they would have worn them like in their bodice or in their hair or wherever. They are tipped. They are sharp on the tip, but the edges are dull because they commonly get worn straight against the skin. They do come with a little leather sleeve, but that's the only item that we don't specifically sharpen. It's also the only item we make out of stainless steel, so that they can be worn functionally as like jewelry, flush against the skin without having to worry about anything. I have multiple of these at my desk as like letter openers, so they work really well for all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So that kind of answered this next question, which is, can I order a dull sword for HEMA? So,
you can order a sword without an edge from us if you choose. We currently do not build HEMA, which that means Historical European Martial Arts is what that specific one stands for. There's lots of different groups now budding up around the United States that are doing full dull steel sword on sword contact. A lot of times they get fully armored up and they are wailing on each other. That's awesome. We are working on developing possibly a small line of blades that will be specific to that kind of sport, but that is going to take a bit of testing, because you kind of engineer a sword differently when you're making it to be a training sword where you're just going to be wailing on each other indefinitely, than you do when you're making a sword that you might actually take like onto a battlefield. So it's just a little different. But yeah, if you just want one without an edge, you can order that. That's fine. But currently we don't have any of that style, like HEMA style sword fighting blades in our product line. But it is a project I'm working on.
Gotcha. So after that, because, you know, we went sharp, dull, now they want to know, do you have any advice for sharpening?
There is luckily a lot of information out there on the internet. Right on YouTube, you can find videos from how to sharpen your kitchen knives up to how to, put a razor edge on a Japanese katana. I highly recommend looking at some of those different videos. For us, we use a combination of power tools and handheld, sharpening rods or honing stones and such. But for the average person at home, they aren't necessarily going to have big grinding wheels and things like that. So, the hardest part, I would say, especially for a long full-size sword, is just keeping the same angle all the way down the blade, which just takes patience and practice. But yeah, please, I highly recommend, look on YouTube. There's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of people who've made a lot of cool how-to videos. And maybe we'll even add to that as the time goes on. I know our media team is scheming a lot of different things that I'm probably going to get sucked into over this next year.
Always.
Making all sorts of videos for you guys. But so, I mean, realistically, just be careful, especially if you're working on a full-size sword. If you hone it really sharp, be very careful with it.
Yeah. So I think that's all the sharpening questions we've got. Next question is, where does your steel and leather come from?
We source as many of our supplies as possible from the United States. So our leather, for example, we have one main supplier in Texas and one in Montana. Our steel for our blades is made in Illinois. We're based in Michigan, by the way, if we haven't mentioned that. And then we have one main steel supplier who gets us all of our different metals and stuff. That's a Michigan-based company. So it's as many times as possible we get things locally right here in the Great Lakes region. And if we can't get it locally, we'll get it somewhere from the United States.
Yeah. All right. And then that kind of goes with, how do you get the different colors of your blades?
So we get this kind of question a lot at the festivals. One thing that kind of sets SABERSMITH apart from some of our competition is that when we got started, everything was the natural steel, what we call a satin finish. And usually back then it would just been a basic black leather grip. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is the classic sword, right? Black or brown leather, basic satin finish. There's nothing wrong with that. However, we've been in business now. We're creeping up on 30 years here in a few years. So it's after a while, you just want to add variety. You want to have a selection of different things. So we have branched out. We now offer solid black finishes, which is a black oxide treatment. We do what we call an acid etched finish, which I believe this Viking sword right here is an acid etched.
Yeah.
This is done by dipping the blade into ferric chloride acid and just letting it chill there for a while. And it kind of eats into the steel just really shallowly, but it gives it this kind of antiqued effect, which is neat. In my opinion, most swords through history were probably not kept to like a really, really shiny finish because there's no functional reason to do that. You just kept them clean of rust. So that kind of gives you a little bit more of this like antique look, as if it's a 500-600-year-old sword that you just dug up out of the ground. Then we do a couple colored finishes. We do blue and gold. That's just done in the fire. So steel can naturally get to a blue or a gold. And in the middle, we'll get people that ask about this. In the middle of that is a purple. And the purple finish is not something that we can replicate on demand because it's like a real brief window right in the middle between gold and blue. And so we don't allow people to place orders for that. However, every once in a while, swords will come out purple. And if you see one at the Ren Fair and you like it and you want to buy it, go for it. I don't recommend waiting until, a later date to pick that one up because it might not be there. So,
So going along with all that, what are your most popular designs?
We do most of our sales at Renaissance festivals around the United States. And obviously you go to the Ren Fair, you get a beer, you get a turkey leg, you watch the joust. And so the knights in armor, they're usually using straight double-edged long swords of some kind. That tends to be our most popular style sword. Right. So anywhere from our short sword, arming sword, hand and a half, up to our two-hander, those by far are the most popular design. But then other swords, the gladius, the Viking, Japanese katana, those are probably the other ones that are real popular. For other types of weapons, our most popular spear is the Viking spear. Let's see if I can get this low enough that you can see it. Yeah, that guy came out really cool. We started making these a couple years ago. Get a nice zoomed in view for you. Trying to do all this without skewering myself or my assistants here.
We'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's see if I can do this carefully. Set this back down. But year to year, it also changes a little bit. You know, if a certain movie comes out or a new video game comes out, sometimes that affects, you know, when the Assassin's Creed game that was based in Egypt came out, people were all about the Egyptian khopesh. There's a new one that's based in Japan. I would imagine we're going to see ninja swords, for example, like this guy. We just brought these back. Probably going to sell a lot more of these, or the samurai sword, the katana. I'm assuming based on that tends to happen. Then we also have a whole line of knives, daggers and such. This is our 6-inch dagger. This is our most popular knife. We sell lots of these as gifts as well around the holidays. They also make really good pieces to be added into your basic Ren Fair costuming. So if you've worked on, you've got a dress, you've got armor, it doesn't really matter, any kind of outfit. Historically, they would have had some kind of belt knife, and the 6-inch dagger works great for that. They're probably the number one most popular item we make in quantity, but yeah, we also do a whole bunch of other knives and daggers from different cultures and time periods. We also do shields, and we have 3 different types of shields. We're doing a large Viking shield like this. We do a smaller buckler that's the same basic concept, just a smaller diameter, and then a medieval heater shield. And then we have a handful of different designs for the actual patterns that go on it. This one happens to be one of my favorite, Hugin and Munin and the Ravens. And but we also have different Celtic knotwork ones. We have some classic, just like quartered designs, a dragon, and lots of different options.
Yeah.
If you see one of these at the fair, you can just pick it up and buy it immediately, or you can also place an order, or you can do that on the website, and then you can pick and choose the details, like what color paints, what color stain, and we can kind of customize it a little bit for you.
Okay.
We aren't offering full custom designs as of this point, but we are, like, we can mix and match color schemes for you. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Next question, after all those fun, popular things. Are you guys going to do any instructional or cutting videos?
That is the plan. We are going to be doing quite a few more videos throughout the course of 2025, and maybe just continuing moving forward from there. But you guys can all blame me for the lack of social media content over the years. I have a mile-long to-do list that is usually growing faster than I'm able to cross things off. And so now I have my team here of Megan and Emily, who's off camera, and they are the ones doing all the behind-the-scenes work to get all this video content for you and photo and such. And then they just tell me when they need me to show up and help them with something. So at like some point,
video.
like today's video, the Q&A. But yeah, at some point they're going to say, hey, come outside by the cornfield behind the shop and here, swing this sword at this thing. So you will see more of that kind of content over the next year. We're going to try to do some tatami mat cutting, some water bottles, fruit ninja, etc.
Just no acidic fruit.
Yeah, this is a random thing, but if you're at home and you've got a sword and you want to do some fruit ninja in the backyard, just so that you don't like ruin your pretty little finish on your blade, like I've discovered this through trial and error, that all the stuff that's really acidic, like a pineapple or an orange, will tend to leave streaks all over your blade. But it doesn't really hurt the sword, but it's not going to be as pretty when you're done. So, and you know, the aesthetic finishes aren't warranted because they're just for looks. And so it's just kind of up to you if you don't care. I've got a couple swords at home that are just beat to crud, and they are some of my favorite swords. And they have scratches on them. They've got nicks and dings from hitting other blades. And that's part of the appeal. But for other people, they like their blades to be perfect looking from day one to the end.
So we've had a whole bunch of fun questions, but now this one's even more fun. What is your favorite all-time weapon?
So we actually have both of them up here right now as examples, which definitely was not planned out. Right. So I really like Sword and Shield, and I do kind of like break the historic. I really like the Roman Gladius is my favorite sword, and then I do like Viking Shield. So kind of mixing those two combinations, and then the Viking Spear, which we've got up in the corner there. Those are my favorite weapons. So Gladius, you know, I just always thought it was a really cool shape. We've done a few different designs of this over the years, but this one just came out really cool, and this perfect size, combo it with a shield, different types, and then the spear up there. Every culture in history at some point was like, you know what? It's really convenient if we keep our enemies just a little bit further away from us.
Oh,
so
crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to not be right up on top of each other while we're fighting to the death. So that just gives you a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah.
And for all your epic combats, you know, a shield wall of overlapping shields plus spears is one of the best tactics in history. Yeah. Any other questions that you got?
No, that's actually the last question. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys listening to us ramble. We are going to try to do a lot more video content moving forward. And, you know, if you guys have more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll probably answer them via text. And we'll do more videos like this moving forward. We'll probably do some live ones. But yeah, if you need anything, just reach out. We're open up here at our shop, Eastern time, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30. You can call us, shoot us an email. Our email is info@sabersmith.com. Check out our website, sabersmith.com. Check out all of our social media pages. We've got a YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that 21st century nonsense. And check us out, follow us, like us, share, all those things. If you want us to keep doing more content, we're happy to. But, you know, it's a give and take. So engage, share our stuff, and we'll try to keep this going.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Megan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for answering all these fun questions.
Awesome.